going, metalheads? Welcome back to another video. This is kind of just my lazy Sunday upload, something we've been wanting to talk about because the snow's coming down in Denver again, or at least it did last night, so it's pretty cold outside. Just a lazy Sunday staying inside. But anyway, today is more of a discussion piece. I do some of these a lot, where I talk about something. It's not really like, a list video or something like that. Then I want you guys' thoughts in the comments as always. But today we're going to talk about how metal concerts specifically are different from any other concerts and other genres. I think about this a lot, when people ask, why I go to so many concerts and stuff. And it's usually people who aren't fans of metal. It's usually people who are fans of other music, who maybe don't understand why, concerts are such a big deal in metal compared to other genres. And I think it's a really interesting thing to talk about because it is different in metal. It's very different. Somebody who's a fan of pop with all these really big artists, commercially big artists, they don't tour as often as younger metal bands who want to get out on the road a lot. And, obviously there's the exceptions with your Metallicas and your Maidens and your Priests who are, getting up there in age, but also are really big commercially, so they only play arenas and stuff like that. But for the most part, metal is an underground genre. And that's not really the case with a lot of other genres. Or at least I feel that in metal, the underground bands have a pretty big shot compared to, some of the smaller bands in other genres like pop. I don't hear about any small pop bands at all. And maybe that's because I'm not in the scene at all, but I really only hear about the big ones, And so, as I was saying, with those concerts, they come around maybe once every couple of years. They play the big arenas. You have to pay $200 a ticket. It's in a whole thing, And so those are the only concerts that some people go to. And, and those concerts can also be a social thing, It's like, hey, want to go to a concert? There's a bunch of people going. Like, I've definitely gone to non-metal shows that are like that. Like, hey, it's a social thing. Let's go have fun. Instead of metal shows, you're mainly going for the music. Like, maybe you'll meet a bunch of friends there because metal is a community, just like every other genre. But you're really going for the music. Like, I've been to tons of shows by myself, and it's really awesome just the same. Because, well, for one, everybody's friends in metal for the most part. And two, I'm just going for the music. I don't care who's there with me. I'm going to see this band live, And so it's a really interesting thing to think about because, most of the concerts in metal aren't those big arena shows. Like 90% of them aren't those big arena shows. They're smaller venues, I go a lot. There's a lot of venues in Denver that are like 500 to 1,000 people, Those are the best shows to go to, I think. And I also go to some smaller ones. My friend's band plays at a venue that can maybe hold like 50 to 75 people max, which is also a really fun time, And with that being a smaller venue, those are not as expensive tickets, And so that's really fun to be able to go to a show, not have to pay as much, and see your favorite bands even closer than you would in an arena. That's really awesome. And I do think that other, genres should try to adopt that. I know that, all the big commercial artists can't do that, obviously, but it's just a different thing, And also, like I said about, going to a concert as a social thing, metalheads don't do that. Like I said, you're going to see your band because they are your band, or, your friend's band maybe, or just a band that you really enjoy. But metal has always been about the music. It hasn't been about any other bullshit, selling albums, all that. It's just been about passion, and that's why a lot of metalheads go to concerts, You don't really see a whole lot of non-metalheads at concerts, Like, I'd much rather get dragged to a metal show by my friends because, and you're not really dragging anybody there. I've dragged my girlfriend to one metal show. It wasn't her, favorite thing to do, but she wanted to see me in my element, And, you don't really do that with other things. Like I said, you just say, hey, want to go to this show. Whereas metal, you don't do that. Like 90% of the people there are there because they want to see that band and they want to be in the music, And it's also about supporting bands. Like I said, a bunch of other genres, and as I said, I'm not in those scenes, I don't really know about it, but a bunch of other genres, you don't hear about small bands, whereas metal is really big about supporting their small bands, as is my channel, and making sure they can still, do what they love, and do it for us, So, a lot of the times when you go to those cheaper concerts, because it's smaller bands, you'll buy a shirt, you'll buy merch, support the bands, because that's what it's about. A lot of people don't get that, and this ties into another, maybe a standalone video I'll do about, metal shirt collections and all that kind of stuff. But a lot of, I have over 90 band shirts now, and it's not just because I want to own 90 shirts. It's not like, oh, that's a cool shirt, I'm gonna buy it. A typical thing is, it's like you buy it because you're supporting the band. It's kind of like a donation. I say to a lot of people who don't get it, it's a donation and you get something cool out of it too. It's a thing. It's not just, a shirt. It's more than that. You're supporting the band. You're saying, thank you for being here. You're saying, I hope you can continue doing this. Here's a donation. Thank you for this awesome thing I get to support your band with. Because it's also like you're a walking advertisement for the band. Because, when you're a metalhead, and you don't know somebody's shirt, you'll say, hey, what's your shirt? And you go check out this band, you know? So it's a whole different thing, you know? Buying shirts at shows and supporting your bands that you like and stuff like that. And it's really different from other music genres, because for them it's just a concert, but for us it's like, you know, it's like worshiping our bands. It's basically bowing at the altar, you know what I'm saying? And so it's just interesting to see other people go to shows, you know, like 1 or 2 a year because they want to go see the big bands that play or whatever, versus me. I went to 24 shows last year, and maybe that's a lot, maybe that's a little compared to other metalheads. I don't really know, but that's a lot more than a lot of my friends went to who aren't metalheads. So I'm just saying, people go to a lot more shows in metal for sure because they're cheaper, they're more fun, I think, they're smaller. You know, it's a way more fun experience to see your favorite band up close, like I said, than it is far away. And if you have the money to, you know, see Metallica in the pit or whatever, that's awesome. But not a lot of people can do that. Versus, like, you know, a show at like a 500-person arena, it's general admission, so anybody can be up front. You know, so that's really cool, and I think metal's really unique in that sense. So this was just a quick little lazy Sunday, you know, kind of a rant discussion upload. I just want to know you guys' thoughts on it because I do think it's a really interesting thing to talk about. But yeah, I hope you're all doing well. Have a nice day. See ya.